Greg and Amanda Kasparian had a vision for building a wellness business as soon as they knew they were making Serenbe their home. They initially opened Creek Retreat in the terrace level of their townhouse, and it quickly grew out of their home and into a retail space in the heart of Mado. Plus, they've now launched a skincare line. In this episode, we talk about Greg's background in the spa and wellness industry and Amanda's experience in fitness and nutrition, and how during a workshop, Greg had his aha moment.
And he just blurts out this thing about what he wanted, what he envisioned was this well-being, wellness kind of business to, draw in all his years of experience and his, wanting to give back to people and care for them, and a place where people could come and, be together and for education, all these different things.
Well, I want to welcome everybody to Serenbe Stories. Today, we have Amanda and Greg with us, as well as Steve Nygren. Hi, how is everybody?
Good afternoon.
Hey, everybody. We're doing well.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
It's so good to see everybody. Welcome again. And one of the first things we ask all of our guests, and we would love to know about you guys, is how did you discover Serenbe?
Who
wants to take that one? Greg, Amanda?
I'll let Greg take that. Yeah, you go.
Okay.
Well, it's a combined story,
right.
But it's a serendipitous route of a number of just sequence of events that got us here. And I'd say the first thing was the CBS Sunday Morning Story in 2015.
But that was quite accidental. Yeah. Right.
We used to watch it all the time, and it was something that I grew up watching with my parents. And Amanda was upstairs, and she came down, and we have a little joke that usually there's a heartstring story in that, and Amanda will cry, and and then we have a joke that says, it's Sunday morning,
right? So
this episode aired, and she came downstairs. I said, you have to see this. Just watch this place on this thing. It's just amazing. And so I rewound it, and we watched it together, sitting there with our cups of coffee, almost like two little puppy dogs with their heads tilted, thinking, wow, I just remember the feeling. It was it. I just remember how it felt being in that place, transporting myself there.
Yeah. Yeah. And wasn't the crying part either wasn't there.
No, not for this one.
He kept, I think what he thought I was going to be fascinated with was the sustainability and the farm and the, and the neighborhood feel of it, because that's something that I had said we were missing in the town that we lived in. That did not have that feeling. Let's just leave it at that. So.
We'll have to find you on the streets to ask you what place that is.
Yeah, right. You will. Absolutely.
It's really not that important.
I just got told
it's pretty much anywhere.
That's what I saw. Yeah. Any town.
But then did you kind of put it out of your mind? I mean, or it just wasn't top of mind?
Totally. 2 years.
Not only did we put it out of our mind, we just never talked about it.
We never talked about it because it wasn't a possibility.
And life happened.
Yeah.
Just, life happened. But then I being in the spa business, I went to a conference, and it happened to be down the road, about an hour south. And who's the first speaker? Steve Nygren. And I've heard him Steve, I've heard you give this talk a bunch of times, and I understand it a whole lot better now than I did the first time. I really didn't understand much about what you were saying because it was just light years ahead. And it was interesting. Soon as Steve finished talking, I didn't even go up and say hello. I called Amanda and I said, you got to fly down to Georgia. We're having a post-conference tour at Serenbe on Wednesday, which happened to be her birthday. So she flew down on Tuesday. We did the post-conference wrap-up, came up Wednesday, and we spent a half a day touring, walking around Serenbe, with 25 of our closest spa friends,
and had the perfect, it was the perfect introduction. I'm racing to keep up with Steve. I remember that through the woods. I had flip flops on, and over all that mulch, that roly poly mulch stuff, and we wrapped it up with lunch on the enclosed porch, and then tea and coffee and dessert out on your open porch there. And it was just idyllic. It was the most tranquil, beautiful thing. But we didn't see really, it was a cold day. There weren't a lot of people out, and Greg was just completely enamored. And I said, well, it's kind of like a first date. I need to know if there's any more substance to this relationship. I've got to have a second date. So we came back down in July, and that was definitely the love fest. I mean, we met more people here, within 5 visits while our place was being finished than we had known in 12 years living in that unnamed town.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of incredible. And you can't really explain it to people because nobody either believes you or can't grasp the concept.
Right. Right.
So you alluded to your spa and wellness background, which sort of both of you guys have. So will you give us a little bit about, what was that conference? What kind of industry were you in? You guys were living in the Northeast for over 20 years and really considering, right, moving to New York.
Yes. Being in the spa industry for 25 years, I was down at the conference.
It was Green Spa Network. Right?
Yeah, it was the Green Spa Network. In fact, I keep trying to get them to come here, and I know they will. It's just a matter of time. But it was, I think back, I fought to go to that conference. Now, someone else had already been slated to go, and I fought to go for other business reasons that had nothing to do with the real reason when I look back to realize why I actually fought to go there. I felt like really inspired that I needed to be at this conference. If we didn't go to that, we wouldn't be living in Serenbe.
Yeah, it really was that.
It wouldn't have happened.
It is interesting. Yeah, you need a couple different touch points, right? So maybe the CBS was sort of in the back of your mind, but then the invitation came from the Green Spa Network to actually get you here, because of that post thing. But you were working in New York City for over 20 years and a huge pioneer in the industry of wellness. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
I started at Aveda in the mid 90s. So I spent a lot of interesting time with Horst Reckelbacher, who was the founder and creator of Aveda. I mean, just some great stories with Horst. And that was my introduction. I was in finance before that, and I was working at Aveda. And in fact, the woman who introduced Amanda she and I worked together at Aveda. And she and Amanda were friends. So there's a lot of connections there. But
you went from Aveda to Dermalogica.
Yeah. So at Dermalogica. And I actually opened up the International Dermal Institute in Manhattan in 1999.
Wow.
We proceeded to open up Boston, Philadelphia, DC, Detroit. And a lot of offices open around the country, but there was a lot of educational component to that. And obviously part of what I did was regional manager for Dermalogica at the time.
But did you think that you were going to get out of the business when you moved here, or what did you guys think? Like, was that something that was on your mind? And I want to hear a little bit about that. But before you dive in too much, I do want to touch on Amanda's background and state that you guys are sitting in an audio booth that is at your house, which is pretty unique. And I'm pretty jealous. So just to touch on Amanda's background, were you with Aveda at the time, or you were just friends?
I was not. In fact, my experience in the industry is really more from a wellness, fitness component. I've always had an interest in everything, all having to do with natural healing and sustainability in terms of food and all those kinds of things. Always diagnosing myself, and then I had also a fitness background. I taught kickboxing and some things like that. Around that same time that I met Greg, actually, I stopped teaching when I met Greg.
Okay,
that's now the poundage that I have now.
Oh, please.
I'm just, I know it's a joke. There is that Serenbe, you come down here and you're very relaxed and you're eating
Everybody
a lot.
Everybody says the Serenbe 15, from eating and drinking your way through every party.
And it's great. But then I was also doing narration. I was doing voiceover since about 2002.
Yeah, so
primarily
cool.
Working for New York, And then, at home, once the industry really went in that direction, bought the booth and I do record at home. So yeah, I love it.
So cool.
How's our sound quality?
I take it you're in the booth now. I see the background. It's
We're
great.
In the booth. It's dark in here.
We have one little fluorescent light,
And
which
quite small.
I don't spend much time in here, but we have to change that.
It's not flattering.
You're going to get an LED for sustainability.
Yeah.
So you guys came, you bought a house.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, this will be my neighborhood. This will be a great place to be. But did you think that you were going to open a business here?
I can speak to that a little bit because before we moved here, we did these emotional intelligence workshops.
Yep.
One of them, a series of 3 of them that were pretty involved. And one of them, everybody had a vision for their life that they shared with the group. And it was a very emotional, intense kind of thing. And, Greg's in the middle of this group with a microphone and I'm thinking, I have no idea what he's going to say. And he just blurts out this thing about what he wanted, what he envisioned was this well-being, wellness kind of business to, draw in all his years of experience and his, wanting to give back to people and care for them and a place where people could come and, be together and for education, all these different things. And that transpired quite by accident shortly after we got here. Because I that wasn't really the intention at the time. He still had a corporate job.
Well, and a little backstory was this workshop we did was probably 2 or 3 weeks after we put our bid in to buy our home here, where we're sitting today.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of energy to that. There was a lot of momentum and excitement. And I said something pretty close to the fact, I want to start a wellness space in Serenbe where we're going to call our new home.
Yeah.
And so it was inspirational, and it's I don't know where it came from.
It came from your heart. I mean, it really came from his heart. I remember hearing it.
So you hadn't thought about that. You just all of a sudden
it came out of being here over successive visits while the place was being finished. I think we both had a process of revealing of things that happened during our visits here, revealing about our own hearts, revealing about how we saw our future. And so, what he said there was very much part of that process. We came down here and realized, wow, we were missing community and we didn't even know it.
Well, and the 2 of you arrived and you instantly seemed like you were just part of the community. And I mean, you were, you put yourself out there and everyone opened you with welcome arms, and it wasn't long at all. You were, you were a definite part of the community from the first days.
Thank you. That's nice to see you.
Thanks.
Yeah. What did you do to kick it off? Did you know what you were going to do? Because it has morphed and grown in such a beautiful fashion from something that was really, sort of we'll call it a cottage industry. You really started it you don't quite have a live work, but you're downstairs. You really turned over and into this really beautiful space. But tell us what you started with. Tell us where it's grown to and all this extensions, the brand extensions now.
Well, yeah, it's we started in the terrace level of our apartment where we're sitting here. This is treatment room 2. And it was the interesting part of it was Amanda alluded to it. I was working at the time when we moved here with hydrofacial, and I was running a division, and it was an interesting time because a group of investors had come in, and within 60 days they fired the man who invented the machine, who's still a really good friend of mine.
Oh no!
And then through a history of firings, they basically went through everyone who was existing, and my term was up, and that happened in July of 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, okay, am I going to go back into the corporate world, or am I going to really make it happen. And so we started very humbly here. Anybody that was here, Steve, you saw the operation. It was pretty simple. We were just figuring it out.
Wonderful.
We got to incubate it here, and we took the inspiration from a live work. Amanda said it. We were up in Maine, and she said, "Why don't we just start it there in the terrace level?" And I'm like, "Great, sounds good." So that's kind of how it started, and it was a choice because I had to take. I'll use a baseball analogy. I had to take my foot off first to steal second, and I needed to, just let go of the whole corporate lifestyle. Because it can be very alluring.
He did it really well. The way you put a bird out of a nest and it knows how to fly, that's essentially what we did here.
I just
pushed each other out of nests. Yeah.
It's hard though.
It is.
It was extremely hard. And then, when things were shut down last year, I had to think about, going back into that world, but things worked out, and we patiently watched good things happen. I mean, and to your other question, we went over into a shared space with Dr. Mela Gray, chiropractor, who lives here. She was really living the full live work lifestyle. A naturopathic physician, the Egoscue method, Sam, and now Sam's partner just started with us. We have an announcement going out this week on that, and so it is a community thing, and it's really grown. And I've kind of listened to what people are telling us and trying to just following that inspiration instead of having a really solid, here's what I'm going to do in 5 years. And this is what, that's still good. But at the end of the day, life takes you in these different twists and turns, and you have to, I want to be flexible enough to follow that.
Yeah. Well, and you guys have sort of, build yourself as sort of a wellness collective, which I love, with, this wonderful shared space. And that is able to get people who maybe didn't want their own standalone space, or maybe were a little nervous about, putting that out on their own. And they can come in and sort of, to your point, try it out, see how it goes. And just like you guys sort of flew from the corporate to the terrace level into this space, you're providing a nest and incubation for all those other wellness practitioners, which is so cool. And especially as a resident, to be able to have more resources is super wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we grow, as we grow as a community, it's kind of reflective of, I think, how businesses in Serenbe in general are growing to accommodate the greater numbers of residents that we have. And Greg and I experimented with a lot of different modalities on our own that we were super interested in. And luckily people here are interested in the same things.
We test a lot of things upstairs.
Yeah.
Well, and you've started
product
testing. Well, and so talk about product for a minute.
Line.
So
very exciting.
When everything was shut down last year, what are you going to do? Learn a new language? I tried Italian. That was after COVID really, but I've always talked to people in the spa industry about creating a line, a skincare line that it's what I've been around most of my life, except when I was doing capital equipment like the hydrofacial device. So I actually started with close to 100 products or formulations. More products wouldn't be the right word.
Sure.
But 100 formulations, narrowed that down to about 50. Really whittled that down to about 25. And by when we had our first product ship in January of this year, 2021, we had 13. And immediately one of the 13 came in, and I took it off the shelf, and we never sold it because it just wasn't right. The other 14th was the sunscreen that I've been talking to Steve about for 2 years. And Steve, happy to know on Thursday we got that product in, and it's even better than the formulation that I shared with you before.
Amazing!
Congratulations! Well, I'll come have to pick up some.
Yeah, it's really great. So that was something that we got to do during shut down, and it was a lot of tinkering and fun, and it
was very collaborative too. You had a team working on those, on product, fun product names to reflect the different qualities that the product espouses, and that was a fun part of it.
Yeah, I can't take credit for the names.
Right.
A lot of other people helped with the names.
Yeah, they did. It was fun.
Okay, so I'm going to back up for just a little bit, because I don't know if a lot of people know what a hydrofacial is.
Okay.
Good point.
I think the probably the majority of people maybe haven't had one, or don't know, or they've maybe heard of dermabrasion, or they've had a facial, but this is very different. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And then, because I do want to sort of then bounce off again back to some of the product and why it benefits, but tell us why this is better.
I'll tell it from my experience. I was working for an Italian skincare brand, running operations for North America. And I was in Chicago, and I saw this machine, and I just couldn't get my head wrapped around it. And I asked the guy who would later become my boss, "What is this? Tell me about it." And he talked to me a little bit about it. And that night we sat at the bar and had a steak, and we were talking about the technology, and I just knew it was going to change the industry in a way that was be a big game changer. So a few months later, I went out to their corporate offices in California, and 6 months after that, I joined the company. The reason I did is that the technology is such that it's like dermabrasion, but it's hydrodermabrasion. So instead of sandblasting the skin, you're using glucosamine and lactic acid to remove that top layer called the stratum corneum. After that, we use a mild acid peel, which liquefies what's in the pores, and then we turn up the vacuum. And in essence, for the guys that are listening, we shop vac the face, and we extract out automated painless extractions and pull out what's in the pores. And lastly, a topical infusion of antioxidants, a low molecular weight hyaluronic acid, and peptides that help rejuvenate the skin. So it's really it's a rejuvenation facial treatment.
No downtime, no redness, no terrible recovery.
And I've become a regular user, so I can attest.
I like it. Testimonials here. And Amanda, all three of you guys. I mean, I've done it once. I need to get back in there. It's phenomenal.
And I don't go often enough either. It's that the cobbler's children have no shoes thing.
Shoes.
I mean, it's always bugging me to go in and do it.
I love it.
She did a lot better when the business was here in our terrace level.
That was true. That is true.
I'm sure. We make up a million excuses of why not to, and we get busy in our lives and don't do these wonderful treatments.
Yeah, Monica, don't feel bad. The commute for Amanda has gotten too far. So the fact that you're over in Grain.
I know. I'm way far away. It takes me 5 minutes to get there. So do you feel like the products that you created, I mean, you have a curated product sampling on your website, but your personal Creek Retreat products, were you working on those to sort of complement a hydrofacial? Were you thinking about it through that lens when you formulated them?
A little bit. There's a number of approaches that I wanted to take. Yes, to support that treatment based on a continuation of hyaluronic acid, sunscreen, which we just finally received this week or last week, and that's really important to carry on and keep that treatment going. We did one of the things that people would reach out, especially when things were shut down. Hey, what can we do at home? And there's really not a lot out there. So to answer your question, we did create it that way so that there are things that are duplicating at home what you could do in the treatment. Now, obviously, the device gives us much more ability to really take it much further from a treatment standpoint. But if you want to use, we came out with some acid pads that have 6 different acids that really help with exfoliation.
I will take a little bit of credit on this one because I'm like, we were playing around with stuff, and I'm like. And I came up with some things and I said, look, this is like a hydrofacial hack. Like in between treatments, This gives you the benefit of the same kind of feel of the skin and, exfoliation and, I said, look at my face. It looks great. Can we make this stuff?
Okay.
Yeah. It does give a lot of inspiration, usually in the bathroom.
That's great.
Tell me what your favorite product is right now. Now the sunscreen just came out, so that's something definitely we need to pick up in general. We should be wearing that every day. But what's sort of each of your favorites right now?
Well, I mean, I do love the pads that he was just talking about, those acid pads. Yeah, and you can just sort of wipe it on the face, leave it on if you want, although that's got a bit of a tacky kind of feel to it. And if you don't want that, leave it on for a couple minutes and just take that off with a damp washcloth. And it really feels as though you have had your skin, beautifully and gently resurfaced, very smooth, like, baby
nice.
skin.
And that's the HydraFace Hack brightening pads, right? Okay, nice.
That is correct.
Yeah.
What about you, Greg?
Mine is still the baby, the Skin Hero. It's a superhero product because it has so many antioxidants, really to fight the free radical damage of the environment, the sun. That it just, I've always loved the combination of those ingredients: vitamin C, vitamin E, ferrol, CoQ10, antioxidants that really help fight and fight the free radicals so that the skin can be as healthy as it can be.
They're good in combination.
Yeah.
Really
well,
good.
And that's great. I use a serum that has a lot of these things in it. So I feel like I need to come try yours because your price is quite good right now. It looks like you're doing a sale.
Well, thank you for noticing that, because I probably know the product that you're using.
I think you probably do.
And you won't see in any of our communications, but we will reference that product. And the idea was, how can we so 5 of the products in our line are reverse engineered, meaning we take them apart, analyze them in the lab, figure out what the components are and the percentages, and then try to rebuild it. And a lot of times, in fact, the product we're speaking of, that formulation is 20 years old. So what you'll notice in ours is that we added CoQ10.
That's
We're just really trying to take, like, what's current, what's the new technology, what can we use to, and how can we do it at a lower cost so that there's somebody on the team there that comes in every couple months to get the Skin Hero because she loves it. I mean, so I wanted to bring value with an incredibly great ingredient deck.
Okay, I like it. Well, we'll talk offline about the details, but I think I'm going to have to come in and get some because that enzyme is not in the one that I use. And that's a whole really fabulous wrinkle UV ray reduction. So tell me what else. So tell me, you guys are in Mado, and tell me about Mado. We've had different people on that share their experiences in Mado, and you guys have been here long enough to have experienced it pre-COVID and during COVID. Give me your Mado, what your favorite thing about Mado is, because it's a fun neighborhood. No offense to Grange, which I love, or Selborne.
No, I love them all. We love being here. The energy here is really, really high, and we chose to be here. In fact, when we took the tour with Steve, that was March of 2017. I think there were 2 houses. Maybe I don't even know if anybody lived here yet, but maybe 1 or 2 houses.
The Galeys were here. A couple neighbors were here. Stacy and Jason were here. Natalie and TJ were here. There were a handful. That was it. And that was in the beginning. I mean, it's still wonderful. That was definitely part of the early charm. We were always together, you know. It was like an extended family.
And when Steve would walk through the first time, over here's going to be the pool, and over here's going to be this, and then this big office building, and we're going to have all this wellness and all. And I'm like, yeah, wow. and 4 years later, boom, it's manifested.
Yeah, you were Mado pioneers.
I know it's fun to look at the fly through that we did, and it was great. But and now you actually can look at it, and it's pretty well what the fly through.
Yeah. We should throw that into the website show notes. Is the previous animation that was this crazy fly through that showed the neighborhood, and honestly, it looks exactly happened. So it's a lot of fun. And the pool's here now, and so many of the wellness things are here now. But there's a lot more coming to Mado too, right, Steve? Do you want to give like a little taste of just like nothing that's, but just like what's the further vision that's coming along?
As you all see, I mean, the hillside, and you can sort of see the terracing now with all the big machinery going on the different levels. So you can just see that activity level. Imagine when that hillside's filled with all the lights of the houses, and it remind us of when we were all in Italy together. And you were in Italy, weren't you, Greg? Yeah,
no, we didn't make that trip.
Oh, you didn't make it to the Global Wellness Summit in Italy, but it's very reminiscent of the massing of the Italian hill towns, and you can sort of see it coming together over there. And we're working on that fly through. So here in a few months, we'll be able to actually show you, and now you'll have confidence that actually is what you're going to see.
Definitely.
I already have confidence.
Yeah, that happens once you've been here a little bit and you hear Steve with these like what we'll call crazy ideas that the general public thinks, and then you're here and you're like, oh, that actually happened, and it was better than I even could envision. And so the other things that are going to come is going to be the school is going to get built out next to the pool, which is going to be super cool. That's kind of coming. And then, lots more future commercial, and a fun little park that's going to be sort of a temporary installation that's going to come, right, Steve?
Monica's telling you everything is coming on, but absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be as you drive to and from your home, that as you descend Tabway, and you kind of, right now it looks like a construction site still, and we're really working on in the next several months transforming that so that it really comes together. Even though there's going to be future buildings there possibly, it will be a park completely laid out with sacred geometry by Phil Tabb, because it's an area you'll look down on. So the geometry will become not only something you'll experience when you're in the park, but you're able to visually see it when you're on the higher road there.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
Stay tuned. Yeah. Exactly. And then 6 more Live Works will be across the street from you guys eventually, where the Wellness Collective and Creek Retreat is. So you'll have a mirroring of wellness activities potentially, which is really exciting. One of the things that we're always curious about is if you were going to tell somebody to come to Serenbe for the day or for the weekend, what would be that sort of undiscovered gem or hidden thing that you typically wouldn't get off the website, or maybe only a resident might know?
Gems. There's so many of them. We came for the place, but we're in love with the people, right? So there's so many great people here, and those are some of the gems. But then there's all these little, just beautiful finds. The park bench by Steve, what do you call that? The little falls?
Yeah, we call it the little waterfalls.
Yeah. That's just a beautiful experience.
Very peaceful spot.
We had a great aha moment when we discovered that on our own, just walking around. The tree forts.
Actually, we were on the other side of the stream.
In the stream.
In the stream, and didn't even see the bench. And I said to Greg, isn't this beautiful? I wonder if anybody else ever comes here. And then we lifted our heads and looked, and there's the bench and the whole thing. So obviously people had been there before us.
And the interesting thing is there's a beautiful saying that's in concrete and I guess silver letters. And that's what happens to be on Amanda's phone. So it just kind of like, wow, it's just like an epiphany. We've had so many wonderful experiences. The trails are fantastic. Steve's taken us, and we've gotten to see some really amazing, just nature walks. I think if somebody's coming to visit and they're staying in the community, one of the beautiful things about being here, I thought about it yesterday. We try to go up to the farmhouse twice a week because that little journey up on that gravel road is just so picturesque. And even though you're here in Serenbe, when you get to go to the farmhouse, it's another dimension that is just, there's something super special about it.
But then when you go, what I would do, my gem is I'd go sit up at the bar and have a drink and chat with people and introduce yourself and talk to them, because that is, as Greg started out by saying, that's what we found here that was so amazing that we didn't know we were missing.
Yeah.
And people are incredibly friendly. And I loved it when I came and did that and met people. And I love doing it when I, encounter a visitor. I mean, it's the best way, I think, to really experience what is the beauty of this place is the connection to one another as human beings.
And the farmhouse porch.
Yeah.
Because of how we discovered.
Right. Maybe not just the bar.
Yeah. And that porch is so special. I mean, it's just great. There's so many things, the trampolines. There's so many events that are happening. The wine shop. I mean, if you want to just go have a bottle of wine, you can sit in the wine shop and do it. It's fantastic. So there's so many I can't remember them all.
And people are happy to share too, which is nice.
Yeah. Which is really great.
See, it's fun. You mentioned the bench is the first thing, Greg, and it dawned on me. There's Serenbe is so large. There's so much land that people do not even realize is Serenbe. And I just walked with Thomas to show him one of my favorite meditative spots that no one has really seen. Because we haven't had paths to it. And, I have to keep some secrets to myself. But we've decided
we're going to follow
we're going to do a path to it. And it's magical. It's truly magical. And so maybe you can help think of the people that would really appreciate that. And we'll organize a little walk. And I'll share it with you. Maybe the trail won't be completed, but you don't mind crawling over some trees that have fallen, and
I'd be honored to.
I think we've done that with you.
I think you have, so that's why I know you would be up for it. So, and anyone you think to invite in, that they're good spirits. They aren't expecting a clear path to the journey.
It's kind of like life.
Exactly. But some people get upset when it's not a clear path.
I know. Well, the last thing I want to ask you guys is what's next? What's next for you guys and Creek Retreat and the Wellness Collective?
It's it.
You're getting bigger.
We're getting bigger. We've hired some other folks. We have two people at the front desk now. We have two estheticians that started this month. They're going to be onboarding and starting this month, August. We just launched cryotherapy last month, so that was a big lift.
Yeah.
So full body cryotherapy and local and facial cryotherapy.
Amazing.
I'm going to check out another facility in all places, Philadelphia, which is where we came from. They have a model that looks really interesting to me. That is really on that high tech arch. Because when I was at Aveda in the 90s, it went from, we used to call it the beauty business. And then it went to the spa business, and it became, we were dabbling in wellness, but if you asked 100 people what wellness is, you'll get 100 different answers. And, there's words like biohacking, it's like, where's it going? And what does that look like? I don't always know, but I am looking at about 4 or 5 different modalities right now to be announced and to determine they don't always make the cut. From a collaborative standpoint with the Wellness Collective, I want to just keep bringing in talented people that have gifts, healers, people that can really help the community, and where their modalities and our modalities overlap, but they support each other. We've had 3 of the people that have walked in, they're now working at Creek Retreat. walked in and said, "What is this? I don't know why I'm here, but I felt like compelled to come in."
Wow.
That we have 3 employees like that right now.
Wow.
And then there was another practitioner who came in and said, "Hey, what is this? I just got a good vibe here. What do you do? What do you do, and how might you fit?" So we're creating a space for somebody who's coming back probably in October, November, that is an incredible healer and
Exciting.
will do good work in our community. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So you're following the flow.
And the fun thing, we talked about creating this wellness valley. And so it's not one place, it's this entire street and community of various wellness practitioners and shops. And it's really starting to happen. And naturally, it's very exciting to see. And you all have certainly been an anchor to help demonstrate how that organic movement can really grow and prosper. And everyone who's opened a shop there thinking, oh, will it work a day? Can I possibly? They're all looking for more staff now. It's really fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
And I saw Derek at the gym, or Sebastian at the gym this morning. And he said, it's amazing. He says, I now have 4 friends that are all working at Serenbe. They've complained to me about their jobs. And I said, well, come over to Serenbe. I think this is happening or this going there. And he said, they're all working here. They're all having a ball.
That's great.
It's a lot of fun. That everybody that's working with us, they're just loving it. They love all the neighbors coming in, even the visitors that are coming for the weekend are inspired. So there's a really good vibe here. And what's neat about it, I mean, when I think about what we're doing, Steve, you've heard me say it, and you're humble about it, but I just respect the fact that you dug the well, and that gave us an ability to do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in the corporate world living somewhere else, and they terminated the position, I probably would have ran fast and scurried to get back on the hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. But because I was able to go in the woods and hang out and just catch a breath and go, hey, I could actually check in. Mm-hmm. And what do I really want to do? What needs to happen?
Yeah.
And there's a support system of a lot of other people who have already done that. And so that's a little bit of security as you watch other people that, hey, this isn't frightening. It's actually inspiring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even without a clear path, but you have the community to hold you up and to hold you accountable.
And now you're one of those examples 100%. That other people that are struggling with that idea.
Mm-hmm.
They love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monica, you just said something really, really important. Hold us up and hold us accountable. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's done with such care. Mm-hmm. We're really lucky that the way the community has supported us.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you guys for coming on and sharing your story with us. Always appreciate it and love seeing you guys.
Thank you, Amanda and Greg. Love having you here. Love having you as neighbors and friends.
Yeah, and can't wait to see more. And come get my serum.
Thanks. There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Serenbe Stories. New episodes are available on Mondays. Please follow us and leave us a 5-star review. And visit our website to learn more about guests, episodes, and everything Serenbe at serenbestories.com. This episode is supported by the Inn at Serenbe, nestled in the rolling countryside of the bucolic community of Serenbe, where guests can walk on the 15 miles of private trails through preserved forest land, the wildflower meadow, and the animal village. Relax at the pool, hot tub, or in rocking chairs on a wraparound porch. Play on the croquet lawn, grab a canoe, and jump on the in-ground trampoline. Connect with nature and each other, all while staying in a luxurious space at the Inn at Serenbe. Book your stay today at serenbeinn.com. SERENBEINN.com.